Okay, so the aim here is to complete the issue here for add and edit products. We already have the edit products for this Flask application. First we're going to do is just activate the virtual environment and run the application and do a git fetch to make sure we've got all the changes that may have happened on that remote branch. Okay, now let's start the application, which I think is python app.wsgi. There we go. So now we're running the application. And let's just verify that's working as expected. Fantastic. And I think is it admin for the root? And the password is change me based on the local development env file. Change me. There we go. And the test API keys as well. All right. So we want to have a look at the products that we've got already. We've currently got one product, I think. Let's go to the home page of the application where we expect to be able to, okay, interesting, we haven't got a name there for the product. Let's reset the products and have a nice clean slate to begin with. So they're stored in this products directory because we're just having a simple file store at the moment. There's not a database as such in terms of SQL or no SQL type thing, but you can easily imagine how that could be stored in an object database. Okay, so let's add a product and we'll call it laser hair removal because this is for a beauty clinic, and let's say that that's £15. There we go. Alright, so let's see that that's working as expected. Yes, that's fine. Let's say that we want to now have the functionality to change the name of that. Maybe we made a typo and we need to change it. So first what we need is probably just a list on this route that's admin products. We just want to list the names of the products so that we can click in. We don't really want an edit feature as we're viewing a list of them. That's a bit strange. Let's go back to the admin and add another one. So let's just say waxing or something like that, and let's say that's £20 or £200. Wow, that's expensive. Let's do the formatting for that. So that's now available. You see, there we go. This edit button, we don't really want this to be an input at that point. Let's start diving into the code now and play with that. To keep it familiar, let's use VS Code for now. We could use Vim, but let's keep it more familiar with modern IDEs. Let's close out all of these and let's have a look at the routing that we've got here. So let's just say we want a list of the products names and ones to click. So we're on the admin products route. Let's have a look here. So we want to say /products. Here it is. Okay. Interesting, we've got some commented out code here. Probably from a recent refactor. Yes, okay. So we've got products, and by default what we're going to do is I'm going to remember that that was there, and let's open up that products HTML. So Control Shift. I think I've got an add-on called show keys, screen key. There we go. That shows what I'm typing. Let's open up products.html. Okay. So when we visit this page directly, what we want to see is just a list of the products and links that we can click to view them individually. And so we've got this display product function, horizontal line. Let's look at that display product function, probably in here somewhere. admin products ginger. Admin products ginger. Templates admin product ginger. There it is. Nice. Okay. So yeah, we don't want this edit button right here. Refresh. That's not what I was expecting. Is that because it's not refreshed? No. Okay. Let's go back here. Admin product. And we want to say, looking at the display products. The wrong one. Let's have a look at display product. No, that is the right one. Deposit amount. Let's do a change to make sure we're on the right page. Yeah, there it is. Okay, where's this input coming from? Let's have a look at the inspect. Input type, new name. Okay, there's two inputs there. Okay, right, we want those to appear when we click edit. So let's make that happen. So for that we need a root. We need to format the currency as well. Let's create that root. So this obviously needs to be a button, or even just a link. We'll create it as a link rather than an input. It doesn't need to. It's because it's a. What is it? Is it a button? Class button. Yeah, because it's an input type submit. When you click that, it becomes a form submission, and we don't want to submit a form at this point. All we want right there is a link. So we're going to change that into a href to the edit root. So we want this to be a href to the. We're going to take it to the edit root, which may or may not exist yet. Admin edit product, something like that, or to be more restful, product, something like that. And we will keep that nice styling with the class, and we don't need the name anymore, we don't need the value, but what we do need to do is move that to the middle and close off the HTML. So there we go. It looks the same, but a completely different experience. So now it's instead of an input button, it's a link. Obviously what we need is the ID, and really we don't need edit there. All we need is the product ID. So we can say here we want the product ID. I don't know if we have such a thing as a product ID. We must have one though. Let's find out what the data structure is by catting out that. Ideally it needs to be a universally unique identifier, a UUID. Let's look at the products and let's just cat out one of those, 270. Okay, so we've got, yeah, there we go, we've got a product ID. How does that get generated? Let's have a look. Is that a timestamp? I think it might be. Let's look in the ID app. Here we go. So this is for deleting a product, this is for adding. Add product, here we go. The file name is a timestamp, and okay, I think what would be better here is to have the timestamp of creation potentially inside the file. It's okay for now to use this though, because we're not focusing on that, but we definitely want to change that in the future, because on different systems you could have, very unlikely, but you could have the same. In fact, how unlikely is it? Yeah, a timestamp, it's incredibly unlikely to have a timestamp happen at the same time, to have a collision, but UUIDs exist for a reason, for exactly this reason, to have a unique thing every time. But let's focus on the task in hand, which is to display the, to use the product ID in the in the link. So what we're going to end up with is a link that goes to that particular product. Okay, what's this error we've got? Line 74. Line 74. In here, let's go to line, is it Control D? I can't remember the shortcut for that. Let's just have a look through. 74, 73, 74, 74. Okay, so that's because I've got this file open. I'm just going to close that now. There we go. Right, so we've got product name, amount, change product name. Yep, that's what's going to appear on the edit page. So we don't want to have that there. Let's move that. Change product name. Good with the labeling though, because that helps with usability. So we'll keep that around. And just going to tidy a bit of the indentation and things like that. Cool. Okay, where are we at now? Let's have a look. So we've got the link, we've got the product name. Just very quickly, let's put the product name as some sort of title, because it's semantic web. The HTML needs to have its meaning. So this is a heading. It's not a page title, but it is a heading nonetheless. There we go, and deposit amount and 2000. We're going to format that as well. We might even already have a format currency. Not yet. Okay, we'll come to that later. So we've got a edit link, so that now goes to, we've got this admin product ID. So that's a view. We're going to have just a view the single product at this point. So here we're listing all the products and we want to edit it. So actually maybe we want to change that URL slightly because we're on a web interface here as opposed to an API. Let's say product edit there. So that's what we want it to be. So let's click that and you see we've got product edit ID. So we know exactly what the URL structure is going to be. Let's, as I say, make it so. So we want a route just for editing which gets past a product ID. Here we go. That's exactly what we need. All we need to add there is the product ID, which is going to be an integer. And it's going to accept get and a post. That's fine for now. And just to make sure we know what's happening, we're going to say here. Okay. Refresh. Nope, that's not quite working. Admin product edit. Refuse to connect. I think it might have stopped running. Yes, there we go. Let's rerun that. Converter product ID does not exist. I think my syntax is slightly off. Let's have a look at the documentation. Routes. Let's have a look at that quick start. Name, no, that's fine. What I'm trying, the type comes first and then the name. Okay, thank you, documentation. So we want the integer, the type first, then the type, then the name of the variable. Cool. So let's refresh and refuse to connect. Let's start that again. Good, we're starting. There we go. So we're loading the URL. So if we give it a product name, it's loading that in. Let's show that in the response. So let's return that product ID. So it's just a route that does one thing and one thing alone. We don't need those brackets because it's not a Ginger template. It's just a route. Return to dict, a dictionary, but we want a integer. So we'll just typecast that into an integer. Interesting, it won't let you return an integer. Let's turn it into a string. There we go, so there's the product ID, which will be there. So if I click this one, we've got the ID for that. And if I click this one, we've got the ID for that. Makes sense. Cool. We're going to do the same for delete, so that needs to be a URL with a confirmation, of course. We'll just create the skeleton for that, which will be very similar to this. And we've already got a delete route, probably. Yep, here it is. And that's going to also be an integer product ID. And what needs to happen there is just simply, again, changing that from a input to a link. So we got ahref equals admin product delete. So this is this is becoming a very simple CRUD application. Create, read, update, delete. Also known as a CRUD application. So we've already got the create, now we've got the edit, and we're getting the delete. And we want the product ID as always, so that we know what's incoming for the edit. We need to also validate that to make sure it's what we expect, because that data is coming from an external source, and we never trust external data. What's this link? Delete. And obviously we need a confirmation to delete. We don't want to just delete something when they visit it without any confirmation. Okay, let's get rid of that, but we do want the class. So I've not put the class on yet, just to show what that looks like. Oh, I did. I left it on. There we go. Okay, so that's what without the styling, using the default styling. And because this is delete, we tend to use a warning sign for that, or even danger actually, to warn people that it's unsafe. Red is bad. And edit, safe. Okay, so we've got the delete route. Oh, it's actually going somewhere. Cool. Let's focus on the edit one for now, though. Let's bring that up. So we want to, instead of returning just the product ID, we want to say get that product out of the database. And what's the target product? What does that mean? I'm not sure. Let's validate product. If validate product, I think what this wants to be is a, like it's trying to, let's have a look. Def. If it's a file, fair enough. I think what we should do here is just get the product, get product, and if it's unsuccessful in getting the product, raise an error or redirect the user, because it's not really helpful to like fail and exit and bury it, and we need to show that it's not successful by flashing a message, but there's not a lot that the user can do, but we do need to empower them by at least letting them continue doing other things whilst we get an error log and fix any error that may happen. So we want to, when we get a product, we want to say we need, what do we need when we need a product ID, and that's probably going to be an integer. It's going to try and open it, and it's going to go and the file path, we can move this file path requirement away now from this function, because this function shouldn't really have awareness. It's a separation of concerns, doing one thing only. Blah, 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 blah. Get products, and we want to say, products path is here. In fact, do we already have something like this to load a product? I suspect we do. Maybe. Charge deposit, cancel, available, Stripe success. No. Okay, we'll continue with this utility function then to have a get product. And the job of this, let's give it a return a single product metadata. Okay, that's what that does, and we should say it returns a dictionary. We could say be more specific and say exactly what that is by defining a class of a product, which is made up of a name, which is a product ID, which is an integer, etc., 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 using something like marshmallow or some other structure system. Return a single product metadata, and let's make it so product path. So we want to trust that. Let's do a very poor safety check here, just to force it to an integer of some sort. There we go. Products path, that's great. Target product, okay, that makes sense now. And here we're creating a path, so we're going to use pathlib to do that. So we want to, do we have pathlib installed? I'm sorry, imported. Yes, we do. Let's use path. Where are we already using that? Okay, get products. Yeah. Okay. So we want, because this is building a path. What path does is exactly what we're trying to do here. It builds a path safely for us and also in a cross-platform way. So we don't need that. There we go. So let's close that off, take that out, and let's just play with that and test it. So from path lib import path. So what are we doing here? We're creating a path based on two different strings. One of them is going to be a number and ID, and another one's going to be a path. So let's say path 1 is equal to temp, and path 2, or product ID, for example, is equal to that. Now we want to do a path, because that's what we're going to pass it. We're going to pass it that with the other variable. Whoops. That was a Control-C too many. Let's do that again. Whoops. And let's build that up again. And that again as well. This is just a quick way to validate that the code we're going to write will work. Here we go. Product ID. There we go. So it doesn't support an integer. So it wants the product ID to be a string. So let's force that to a string using types, and there we go. So we've given it a, let's just path. We've given it a string of temp, and we've given it a string of the product ID, and it's returned a POSIX path as a standard path for this system. So Python is aware of the system that it's on. So OS, I think we can say Arch. OS maybe, I can't remember. And depending on what system this is running on, it will return a path that's valid. Which is particularly useful if developers are working on a different operating system. Say you've got a developer working on Windows, one on Mac, one on Linux, or some other Plan 9 operating system where the file systems are completely different. Then that will work. I'm not sure if Python supports Plan 9, probably does. Okay, target product. Okay, so this is really a full path. Target product. Products path, target product. If path is file. Okay, so slight niggle. We're going to continue to use the path module. This is just an evolution of Python. So path is slightly newer. It has more. It fixes some of the mistakes made in the past with os.path. but because of backward compatibility, both still exist. Let's have a look at the docs. Here we go, is file, here we go. So here's the nice corresponding tools comparison. So we can literally do the same thing. In this documentation, it goes into, there's a good write-up and a few blog posts over the evolution of OS path and iter directory, and quite an interesting history of how that's came to be. Path is file, so we can say if, it's very similar syntax, and it's not quite is file, it's is file. There we go. And then it tries to open it, and it loads it, and it closes the file. Okay, cool. So here we can use the with operation. So we can say, so it automatically closes it. Also with open as file pointer, we're going to load the file in fp, and if it's active or not. I'm not going to assume that at this point that we must return only the active product. We want this get product to always get a product if we ask it to. Maybe we can have a active, validate active or something like that. But if we're calling this function and we're asking it to give us a get a product, we expect it to return. Let's catch that now actually. Say archived equals, let's say include archived, and let's default that to false, so that by default we say raise an error if you try to get a product that is archived. Perhaps. Not quite sure about that yet. Okay. Oh, I see. This thing is trying to just see if a product exists or not. Not to worry. Let's raise an error if that is the case. So we want to say if da 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 da. So we're gonna try. So we're gonna do first, ask for forgiveness later, as they say. Try, accept, and in that case we don't need to do this if it's a file, because we're just going to try and open it, and we're going to say first we'll accept the not found operation, but at the very end we'll say this is the most unknown. I've forgotten the name of the exception for not found, but we'll work it out very quickly. Open, so this file doesn't exist, and we can say file not found. There we go, that's the name of the exception. So accept file not found. Don't like that shortcut on this OS. There we go. So we'll then just raise that exception and possibly do a error.log. Do we have logging installed? Yes, we do. Cool. Logging.error file not found, or we will say product ID not found, something like that, and we'll raise it, and we'll flash. We don't want to flash at this point. We'll just raise the error. Okay. We'll keep that within the with block, and we need to catch the generic exception because there might be a different error that's not file not found. So it might open it, but then fail to read it or fail to parse it, something like that. So JSON would raise an error as well. And we'll include the actual message in there. There we go. Product file not found. So unable to get product ID. And let's make this error message more helpful by providing the actual product ID that was attempted to be loaded. And the same here as well. Nice, okay. So where are we? We're doing the JSON object, and let's say we just call it product at this point because that's what we're hoping. And for the metadata, let's call it product because that's what it is. We're trying to load the product, and if the product is active, we're going to not return true, we're going to return that object. So we're saying what we're going to return, and that's no longer true. Well, it does return a dict in the happy path. Excellent. Okay, this is now a bit more testable because we can call it and we know what to expect if we pass it an ID that doesn't exist. Okay, let's do a good refresh and get back to where we are. Validate product is not defined. We know why. Products, because we've done a bit of refactoring. Let's find that validate product. So get products, blah, 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 blah. Product equals JSON loads. So now we don't need to do that so much. So for path, open path. For file in path, we're loading the product, which is just loading. That's fine. If it's loaded if it's been able to open the file path and it's been able to load the JSON, what that function validate product was doing wasn't really validating. It was checking that the file exists, but that was a bit too late anyway because we're trying to open it here anyway. So we don't really need that there. Okay, that's good for debugging, but not needed now. JSON load products pen not active. Okay, it's trying to exclude the active ones, but we're doing that by default now, I think. We can come back to that. Request. Do we still have validate product? Validate product. Yeah, okay, so this is the get product. So this is what we're doing here is we're removing a lot of duplication. The dry principle, the don't repeat yourself, DRY. So what this is trying to do is edit the product. Okay, great, we've come full circle. So we're gonna go down here and say, we'll just say get product. Okay, that's trying to get the new name from the form request. That's what that's going to be doing. So that's going to come from a request. Request.form get like name or something like that, for example, from the submitted form. So the first thing we want to do when processing that form is get the product based on the product ID. And nice to see how we've got this code suggestion now based on the function that we wrote earlier. So that's going to get the product, and then we're going to edit it and save it later. So we're going to have a save product or something like that. Okie dokie. So the reason I'm deleting this is because it's that logic is captured in here that we can now rely on and lean on. Same here as well. So we don't have this repetition. So that if we need to fix something in this logic, we can do it here and have confidence in what this change is going to do and run tests associated with it. Okay, where were we? Here we were. Okay, this is not actually editing any product at the moment, but that's okay for now. Just want to get the get product function used. Found product for deletion. Remove product. So there's going to be a delete somewhere, or markers inactive. That's great. So first we just get the product. So we're going to say product equals get product based on the product ID. Whoops, product ID. There we go. And there's a lot of good error checking here to check that things are what we expect. We can encapsulate some of that with our tries here, because we know that this function is going to raise an error, and then if it does, that's where we can catch it and log an error. To the user that is more specific and helpful to them as an end user. Like, sorry, not possible right now. Obviously you wouldn't say that, it would confuse a user. And then in the background we log the error, exactly what happened, that's actionable for us as operators. Okay. Remove product. So we need to, we're getting the product, so we're already doing that, that's fine. And we can mark the product as not active anymore. And now we do need to actually save the product. So we're going to write this logic here initially, but actually we're going to break that out again into its own function. It's great that this is using the with operator. And this is the product at this point. And we need to open the product ID. Yeah, so at this point we need a save product function, which takes in, well, it's not really a save, it's a update product function, which takes an product ID, an integer. Okay. And very similar to the load, to the get product, let's bring that down here. And what's this going to do? It's going to update an existing product. So it's going to get the product's path. And we're going to say, I'm going to say this is the product full path, because that's what it is. I'm going to be consistent here as well, where we've got target product, because yeah, that's what it is. Then we're going to open the product full path in write mode, very good, and we're going to dump out the product. First we need to get the product, so now we've come full circle, because what we can do first is get that product using that function with the product ID. So we've got our get product, now we've got our update product, and we can say we need to put that in a try except block. So let's make that a bit of error handling. Try to open the file and write to it. Except exception. So there could be a out of disk space error, something like that. Exception as, what am I doing here? No spelling? No. As E, and we want to say logging error could not update product, and we want to say what the ID was, which was product ID. At a bare minimum, we need to say that. Okay. And typically it's useful to return the updated object from a program that updates a product. So we'll say it returns the dictionary which represents that product. And if we don't get any exceptions, what we're going to do is return that object. So return the product. We need the product metadata as well. So we're getting the product ID and the product metadata. So this will be like the old product. Well, we'll just call it the product data, update existing product. So we pass in the new product data. Metadata. There we go. So when we call this function, we give it the product ID and the new values for all of it. We're at risk of creating a database system here, so we're going to not go too far down this rabbit hole because this is what database systems do for you. But we are going to return the updated product. So this bit is missing the update where we say product. We don't even need to open it necessarily. We just need to know the ID and overwrite it. Yeah, which is what this is doing because it's not a write append, it's just an open, and that will overwrite it with the, instead of the existing product, because that makes no sense. In fact, we don't need to get it. Yep, we don't need to get it at all. We do need the path though. But what we want to write is the new product data for that product ID. There we go, it's all becoming clear now. And we want to return the new product metadata, but only if it was successful. Okay. Any errors? Validate. Okay, that's good, that's gone. Okay, here we go. What's running now? Good. Let's see. Okay, that's running fine. Okay, and we've got this path-like object, not an int. So we want to, on line 449, it's getting a bit too long. 449, 449. Okay, great. So because it's like self-contained in just one place, we can do that quickly here to say that the product ID needs to be a string. There we go. So let's go to edit. Okay, nice. So now we've got that URL. We want to do something different when it hits this URL and open just that product in an edit form. Let's get that done. So let's find that root. Product edit, here it is. And we want to say admin, and we want to say probably edit product, something like that. And we, instead of all the products, all we just want to say is that particular product, which we've got from line 405. Product equals product. So this function has one responsibility. It's to get a product ID and return a web page which allows that user to edit that product. Okay, so obviously that template doesn't exist yet. Let's just check we're in the right place. Yeah, we are. Good, good, good. And we don't want to flash that yet, but eventually we will. So like do the update using our save update product function. And I'm expecting to see a not found for this. Yeah, there we go, template not found. Good, let's create that template. So where's that file? Folder structure, sorry. So we've got the admin, we've got admin products, we've got add products. You know what we're going to do? We're going to have edit products, and we're already using a bit of extension, so we don't have too much repetition, which is good to avoid the dry print. So we have the dry principle. Edit products, simple. So we're going to have add, edit, delete. So create, update, create, read, update, delete, CRUD. And so instead of add product, obviously we want edit product. And instead of the form action, we're going to come back to that in a bit. Well, actually, no, let's do it now. We want that to be the URL for edit product. Where did that come from? That is this function name here. So, and then we're going to have an if logic here. So if request type is post, save it. Otherwise it's a get request. Then if it's a get request, we return the form. Okay, so now we've got the actual template. We don't have the template not found error, but what we do have is an edit product error, because we're asking this URL for to load this URL, but we've not given it the product ID, and we need to do that because that function expects a product ID. So where did that variable come from? It came from here. Well, originally it came from product. Well, it came from the URL, which is here in the URL, and then we automatically got it as a function argument. We used that product ID to load the product, and then we passed that product variable to the edit template. So now we can actually view that here. Okay, so undefined error product ID is undefined, and I did forget to do the product ID. In fact, we can just use the product and say product ID. So we can say product equals, well, product ID is equal to product product ID. There we go. With I need to get the syntax correct there. That looks okay actually. It's just all very blue, which is quite hard to see. There we go. So we can't see it yet, but that's what we've got Chrome DevTools for. In the form action now, we should see, there we go, it's taken that product ID. So product ID, got it. All right, nice, and the form is already here. This is exactly where the form was already in place actually, so this is a good template to begin with. Obviously what it's not got yet is the existing values that we would expect. Fantastic, so let's populate those inputs with the current values. So we want to say, I'm just going to put this on a new line, it's a bit easier to read. There we go. I'm not sure about this automatic indentation, it's confusing me a little bit. Oh, I think we've got different settings on our for indentation. That's cool. Anyway, so what we want to see is the existing product name for here. So we want to say the product, remember we passed the product to the template here, and that contains all the metadata for a product, which is one of those products, and passed properly. It has all of these properties that we can use. So we want to say product name, and now on the template it contains the original name. So if we look at all the products and we say waxing, we can see waxing. If we go into laser hair removal and we click edit, we can see laser hair removal. Fantastic. Okay, so same thing for the amount. Let's put that in. Pound, where is that? Value, there we go. They both are required actually. That's a good point. Required. Let's keep that going. And we want to say the deposit amount, I think, is the data structure. Yeah. Deposit amount, and we've got that little helper to explain to the user what that's for, which is fantastic. Okay, there we go. So now it's got the value. Obviously, we need to pass that better. Let's bring back that. Let's bring back that spacing. So they're separated with labels. So we could import Bootstrap and import a lot more than we need right now. So instead, what we'll do is we'll just make these label elements display as block. So display layout is block. So that'll put them onto one line, and we'll give them all a margin at the bottom of 1 EM, maybe 2, because imagine you're on mobile. Let's not imagine, let's make it more realistic. We're on mobile, and there we go. And we can put these in divs as well. Okay, let's make that a bit more permanent. So we'll just say here for now, style, and we want to say, the reason I'm doing it on this page is because then it's isolated to this form and this page. So we've got label, and we want to say display block and margin bottom 2 EM. Okay, there we go. So this name, and we've got that automatic. Additional CSS is what you can find out on MDN CSS, or also Julia Evans CSS has a very fantastic post on CSS. That post here, it's a brilliant guide as well. But Mozilla as well, the MDN CSS layout, very good, especially understanding how you can combine flexbox and grids. Okay, fantastic. So when this gets submitted, obviously we want to actually do the update. At the moment, not a lot's happening. So where is it submitting to? It's submitting to the edit route, which is here. And we want to say if this request is a post, so post is for submitting new data. If it's a new data, then save and update that file. So do the update. Let's do it. So if the request method is method, I'm not quite sure where this autocomplete is coming from. Method is equal to post, then we want to return updating, just to test that it's doing what we expect. So let's refresh that. Request has no object method. That's true. There we go. Okay, let's do a post. No, that's not doing what I expected at all. Okay, in the form action, we actually need to tell the browser to submit it over a post request rather than a get request. So we're going to say the method, we need to actually say it's post. Okay, the reason I spotted that was because in the URL at the top it had all of the arguments, and that's because the form was being submitted as a get request rather than a post request. So let's go back to the edit and let's have a look at the network request and I'll look at the posts, and where is it? Here it is. It's not what I expected. Let's refresh that. And let's have a look at the form action. It's not, maybe I edited the wrong file. Let's go back. Yeah, wrong file. We want to do edit product. Let's save. So where's the form? So we've got the action. We also need to say the method. Method equals post. Or we could also say put post. They are different, and I forget the difference. And people get very opinionated over which one is which. So great, now we've got post, I think. So you've got put, patch, and post. Patch is for updating a record. Post is typically for creating new ones. And to be honest, I can't remember the difference for HTTP put. Oh, put is for creating new records, in which case sends data over there. Here we go. The difference between put and post is that put is idempotent, calling it once several times may successfully have the same effect, whereas a successive identical post may have additional requests, like passing an order several times. Okay, in this context, for updating, we do want a post, but for creating a new one, then a put is more appropriate in this context. But we are editing and having a side effect. Okay, so now when we press submit, we should see in the network tab a post request happening in the request headers. At the moment it's a get request, and it will change now to a post request because we've added method. There we go, and let's validate that. So validate that by looking at the source, and sure enough we can see post. Fantastic. Check this is recording. Yes, good. Right, so let's get that out and let's play with that a little bit with a breakpoint. Okay, so when we hit that URL again, it's going to pause the code, and let's pause that and see now that the browser is sort of hanging around. It's not actually responded either, it's just pending. So press L, we can see where we're at in the code with this arrow, and we can say inspect the request. So we've got the method, that's cool. Flask has a option for form. Because this is a form request, it's populated, and we can see all of the submitted form controls. So we've got, these are taken obviously from the post request, which is here, and if we look at the raw request, we can see here's the product name and here's the deposit name and the amount, and so we can say request form.get, I want to get the product name please, and it's going to return that. If it doesn't exist, it will return none. So that's a nice way of making sure that what we expect to exist actually exists. A very basic form of form validation. It is very important to validate the data you get from an external source for security and also integrity of the data. Okay, so let's do that. So we want the product name and the deposit amount. So let's do what we want to happen. So we want to say product name equals request method form, and the name is product name, and we want to get the deposit amount as well. That's not quite how I wanted to paste that. Deposit amount, I think it was. Yes. And a very, very basic form validation here is we can say if is not none, and deposit is none, or is not none, or the reverse, we can say is none, or deposit name is none, then log an error, both, we can say a message actually, message both product name and deposit amount are required. Now you wouldn't do this usually, you'd use something like WTF forms to create a validator for you, but this is the basics of what it does. WTF forms is a library which adds a few more validators, but under the hood this is essentially what it's doing when you say a field is required. So now we can log that error, flash it to the user, and also log it if we wanted to. Okay, so we've got the product name and the amount. So because this is an admin dashboard and it's required, we're going to do what's needed right now to complete this edit request. So if it's a post request, we're going to redirect them at the end to the view products list instead. So we're going to redirect them and we're going to say flash product updated. And we're going to say, instead of sending them to the edit, we're just going to send them to the products. Products. Is it products.html? Let's have a look. Product is just products. Admin products.html. I think that's the right path. We'll find out very quickly. Okay, oh, we've still got the breakpoint. Let's continue that. There we go. And we want to do that refresh one more time. And as expected, we get that message, products updated, and it's taken us back to the dashboard. So we're going to go to the products. That's really where I'd prefer to go, not to the home page actually. I see, I'm a bit confused because it's got the same heading. So the admin dashboard has it, I think. No, that's fine. Products goes to this view, edit product, go back. What is this page? This is not what I expected. So we're adding products.html, admin products.html. This is not where I want to be. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, where I want to go to is this page here after editing the products. So let's do that. Okay. Oh, that was a mistake. There we go. Rather than that, what we're going to do is a git remove. So git remove templates. What's the file path for that? Can I copy that from VS Code? Copy path, nice. Is that the full path? Cool. Git remove git rm. There we go. Okay. Oh, and I've just brought it back by accident. Now it's gone, I think. Wait for that to move out of the way. There we go. I'm trying to get this to move away. There we go. Cool. Template not found. Products. That's fine. Cool. This is where we want to take them to. They want this page. Now I'm confused. I think I've deleted the wrong thing. Get status. Let's restore that. So git restore. Thank you for git restore that file. What path am I in right now? Restore. Very confused. Admin products. Yeah, I shouldn't have deleted that. My mistake. Edit products. Git restore staged and this file. Let's bring it back. There we go. Git status. There it is, and then we're going to do git restore again because it's out of the staged area, it's in the modified area. There we go. We thought all was lost, but it's not. Here it is. Fantastic. And we want to redirect to that HTML. I really want a URL. Return render template. That's fine. Yeah, we want to return a URL for this. Admin products. We don't need that anymore. That's good. Less code is good. Admin products. Okay. So edit. There we go. We need to return a redirect. That's what's going wrong here. So return a redirect to the dashboard, to URL for, where do we want to take people to? The dashboard, which I think is called dashboard. So def dashboard, or is it called home? That's called admin. Okay, where is that? URL for admin. There we go. So let's restart that. We go to a product, we click edit, we do some edit, and we press submit, and we go back to the admin dashboard. Okay, I want to go back to the products actually. Products, there we go, products. So instead of redirecting to admin, I'm going to go back to the products because I want to see that once I've edited it. I want the satisfaction of having seen it change. Cool. Okay, so we've got the update, and now let's actually make the edit happen. So let's say we change the name, we press save, and it does the save for us. We've got that function at the bottom, which is to update the product. Now it's all going to come together with the update. Okay, so where's our edit product? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Edit. Here it is. Okay, so we've got the post, we've got the product name, we've got the amount. We've already opened the product. We're not going to change its timestamp, so the file name is going to stay the same, but we are going to change the product name. So we're going to update the product name and deposit amount. This does get tricky though, because this is a deposit system and we've just changed the amount of a product that someone might have previously held a deposit against. This is why we need to actually never delete any product, and editing is actually a create operation. So whilst in this video what we're doing is editing an existing document, an existing file, you would never really want to do that in this system, because if someone's booked against a particular point in time, that point in time that they've booked needs to be the same. It can't change. It's set in stone. So we're going to say product name. So with other programs, what we do is every time someone presses save, it doesn't actually update the existing object. It creates a new one and archives the old one, because existing users that are attached to that need that to remain the same, because that's what they've agreed to, or that's what they've saved. Depending on the application, it matters a lot. Product name equals product name, deposit amount, product, deposit amount, and that does need to be an integer, so we'll force it to be an integer. So it's again a very, 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 very basic form of validation there. No validation here, big security problem here. Okay, so we've edited the object, but what we've not done is actually save it. So let's just validate our code so far. Yep, so there's no error, but we're not actually performing the update. So that's where we need to update the product. Oops. Here it is. Okay, so let's update the product. And what does that need? Thankfully, we've got this code suggestion because we gave it type hints when we defined it. So, excuse me, the product ID is in the URL, so we've already got that variable available to us, and the updated product. And yeah, it rolls off the tongue. What we're gonna do then is we're gonna rename that argument to updated product. Because it flows easier. Okay. So we're going to literally give those arguments to there. So we're going to say product ID and the product that we have updated. We'll call it the updated product as well. It doesn't have to be, but just for consistency. Here we go. Oops, no, that's not correct. No, I don't like that change actually. How do I get out of there? We're gonna go back to product. Okay, we've made a change to the product. We've not saved it yet, but here it is. Product. There we go. So that's going to perform the save. Save. It's going to try to save. There we go. And that's no longer in the right place. Okay, so this is now we're going to validate that our update function is performing as we expect. So let's do that. We've got an error to deal with. Flash line 407. Is that still the case? No, that's fine. Okay, waxing a lot. There we go. What's this error? Okay. Aha, we've seen this before. Expecting string but got an integer. Online, I'm looking for code that we've written. Ignoring the Python built-in code, and we've got 470. 470, there it is, and we know what to do there. Okay, again, this code here is quite repetitive. It's not a lot right now, but essentially we're getting the product path and we're performing a file open. Okay, but there's a limit to refactoring, right? especially with the scope of an application. Not an integer, sorry, a string. There we go. Product updated, waxing a lot. Fantastic. Let's edit that and bring it back to what it was before. Waxing. Great. Let's edit this. Let's change the price. Let's change the price down a bit. Press enter because usability. Some people like to press enter. That works because it's a form. Okay, great. So we've got the editing working now. And this is incredibly insecure. So for example, we could say a script alert, or we say console log hello. Now Chrome will probably actually block this because it's gotten more, it tries to help protect you a lot more automatically, but other browsers might not be as good. So let's see if we have that. There we go. See? So that could be some sort of vulnerability. Well, it definitely is. There's no if about it. Now, what Chrome will block, I think, by default is alerts to, you know, I send money here with an address or something. Call this number some sort of scam. Oh no, it doesn't. There we go. So someone might, you know, use and abuse this or do something more, even more dangerous. Okay, but yeah. So now when someone goes to the home page, for example, that would execute if it was displayed on a page. Yeah. Okay. So let's getting attacked by my own attack, waxing. Cool. And other attacks, of course, or validation issues. So do we allow negative numbers, for example? Probably not. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Right, let's just check that we've not broken existing features. No, I don't think the product, was that already there? Yeah, that was for archived. Okay, we'll bring that back shortly. But that's where we're at for now with the edit product. Okay, let's do some git commits and have a look, see if there's anything else that we can tidy up in the meantime. Just do a quick scroll of the code. I'm looking for repetition of things. I think we'll leave it there for now because this video is getting quite long. Okay. Clear git status. Let's have a good look at the git diff for this. Okay, so we've got, just to review, we've got this introduction of these roots. Notice we've got the type for the argument in the URL. And we've got the doc blocks for describing what these functions are, and we've added these utility functions, get product and update product, which consistently take a product ID. And just to help the IDE, we've got this description of what it returns, and we've got some use of try and accept blocks here as well for a little bit of error handling. Okay, we've got this remove product. What we're missing on the remove product is to actually save the fact that it's been archived, so let's do that now, and that will bring back the archived feature. Remove product, so we don't need that. Notice how much smaller these individual functions are becoming because we've now got these utility functions. So now we can say update product, and we want to give it the product ID and the product, which is the updated product, and that's going to save it. Notice that this function also doesn't do any URL redirecting, because this function should only update the product, nothing else, and maybe return the product. When we use the product function, we might want to redirect them somewhere. Let's see where that's getting called. Remove product, there we go. We've got the redirect here. So great, we're using the function, but we're not redirecting inside the function, because that's a responsibility of the code that's calling it, or the client code. There we go. That may have actually brought back the archive function. Not yet. Okay, we'll come on to that. That's because we took out the archive. Let's do that as well. Why not? So when we view the products, we want to say get products, and by default we're going to exclude the archived ones. So get all products excluding archived by default. So, and now we're going to say have an argument to include the archived products, which by default is false. And we're going to say if product, let's have a look at the data structure again. If product active, okay, fine, active, include, I'm going to keep archived, active is not equal to, there's going to be a string by default, not equal to 1, then we're going to append it to the list, and that will include only non-archived products. So let's refresh that. There we go. So we've only got the one product. If I archive that, we've got, oh no, not working as I expected. If open, let's put a breakpoint in and have a look and see what's going on. So here we go. I'm going to continue that and refresh the page, and we'll see what it's doing. I'm going to move that up to the top so we can see better. Okay, so I've just refreshed the page. We're inside a product, and we're saying product is not equal to 0, which is not equal to 1, which is true. Yep, which is true. So we go next, and it appends the product. Let's go next. Next, now we're in a different product. So the second one probably. Let's have a look at the product. Product, and that is active equals 0. Oh, it's the other way around, because active is the opposite of archived. I've got myself confused. Right. If active is equal to 1, then we want to include it. That's fine. Let's continue this and take out that breakpoint. There we go. And let's delete this one. And sure enough, there we go. The logic is correct. Okay, now we don't have a way to bring them back, of course, so it creates more questions. Let's quickly edit one of them to bring it back. And we'll bring that to 1. There we go, perfect. Cool. So let's now do a review of the changes again, and then commit them and push them. So we're looking at the changes here. We've imported logging, the standard library logging, no QA. I'm just going to do some format as well using the terminal. So I'm going to say format this code using black app.py. There we go. Oh, it's already formatted fine, that's good. And there we go. So we've got this edit product root, we've got the addition of the edit product template as well. So we need to make sure we include that when we commit. And we're good to go. Let's commit that and push it so it can be reviewed by everyone on GitHub as well. So one last check, git diff, moving down, 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 down. Looks fine, looks fine, looks fine. Git add, oops, git add there. Let's do a little diff on there as well, because I don't remember what changed here. Oh yeah, we did a bit of refactoring with the form, so we've changed from inputs because by default they submit the form. We don't want to do that in this case. What we want to do is just link them to a different form to either edit or delete the product. Git status. Okay, what else have we got? We need to include this new template. Git add clear. Let's have a look. So now they're both staged, and we've got a commit to happen there with issue number 3. Added edit product. And save. Let's push that up. So we'll say git push 3. There we go. Nice. Now that should be all good on GitHub. Let's have a look. There we go. We can ignore that Cloudflare Pages thing. It's got no relevance. Okay, great. That's pushing, and we can see the files changed here.